Hi, I'm here with Professor Robert Kelly, who is the author of the book Educating for Creativity, A Global Conversation. Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for coming to WeLoveCreativity.org.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I really loved your book. I found it to be incredibly inspirational, and I want you to introduce it for the readers. Tell me a little bit about what the book is about.
Okay, well, in the preface, there's a little anecdote about my brother. My older brother, who was a principal of an elementary school, he's since retired. He works for an airline because he wants to travel or whatever. Anyways, I was giving a lecture at a university in Eastern Canada, Western University, on creativity as a primary rationale for education and everything else. And my brother was in the audience watching, right? It's the first time he'd heard me speak on the topic. And when I got off the stage, he was the first one to greet me. And he came up to me and he said, that's all really nice, but what does it look like? What will this look like in my school? What will my teachers be doing? What will I be doing? How will our school be different? Anyways, that was the impetus for this whole journey. And I'd been on this whole research binge and I'd had one book out already or whatever. So I thought there's a lot of people. I mean, certainly Ken Robinson on YouTube and Dan Pink, and there's all kinds of people who the conversation's been started. There's a lot of people out there who are all dressed up who need a place to go. So when it comes to the shop floor, what does this look like? What is creativity in education? What does it mean? What's the vocabulary for it? What is creative development? And what are some examples of what's going on around the planet of what this could look like in various iterations and manifestations? So Educating for Creativity, a global conversation is exactly that. I front it with my own research to try and explain in plain language for real people in real time what creative development is. What do all these terms mean? And what would it look like? So I give a theoretical and a practical kind of front lens, and then we just go and shop and visit different venues, institutions, schools, private, charter, public, early childhood to post-secondary around the globe. So it includes, we have Riverside School, Kiran Sethi's Riverside School, Menabat, India, the Academy for Untamed Creativity in Copenhagen. How's that for a name for a school? The schools of creativity in the UK, all the way to various schools in the States. And I haven't visited all of the schools. I visited some of them, okay? I spent time at Brightworks in San Francisco with Guy Tully and his crowd, small new private school, and the Da Vinci schools in Los Angeles, and Puget Sound Community School in Seattle. Anyways, that's the context for the book.
What I loved about it is it's essentially a guided tour to this unbelievable world of creativity where people's imaginations are soaring and kids are doing incredible projects and you really get a sense that what's happening is that there's this incredible spurring of knowledge and of action. And I was wondering if there was some school along the way where you were kind of really surprised by the brilliance of what they were doing. Can you name me an example?
Well, that's an interesting question because there's a variety of contexts. Okay, so when you go from early childhood to post-secondary, the context changes quite dramatically. So that's a hard question to answer with a single answer. And the other thing too is when I put this book together, I put together a variety of viewpoints. Some of them aren't necessarily aligned with my own disposition because I think they should be part of the conversation. You know what I mean? Here's another way of looking at engendering creativity in educational practice. Some of my favorite schools, the one I start off, and I hate to do it this way because they all offer something. Now, let me give another context. Public education, and I deal with. I've worked before with our Alberta education in my own jurisdiction here, province, and when you have national, state, or provincial jurisdictions and you have mandated curriculum in public education, then that's a certain context, and the educators within that context have to work within that frame, right? When you have a private school, you have another set of freedoms that go with that. So comparing one to the other, and then you have charter schools in between, comparing one to the other is pretty interesting. My favorite, how about say, one of the ones that really intrigues me is the Chaos Pilots. the Chaos Pilots, and Aarhus, Denmark. I love the idea of a private university with no credit and no degree who really worry about fourth sector business with a social conscience, business about sustainability, business about helping other people, that kind of stuff, about intrinsic motivation. I love that. And the fact that it goes all over the world and they reach out. I love that kind of thing. I love the Academy Fronting creativity in Copenhagen. When I talked to Anne-Sophie Bergman, who started it, I said, what's the raison d'etre for this? She goes, well, creativity for a good life. For a good life. Just that. And as she meant it in a very broad context, not just making money and that kind of stuff. I look at Riverside School in India, Kiran Sethi. I mean, she started Design for Change movement for 8 to 13-year-olds around the world, not to raise money for things, but to change social innovation in the community. Hey, one of the schools she worked with in India, the 8 to 15-year-olds in the school decided they would teach their parents to read and write. That was their project. How good is that? Social innovation, right? Look at Da Vinci School, High Tech High, project-based learning, mastery assessment, Oklahoma A+ schools in Oklahoma, Jean Hendrickson and her crowd. I mean, wow, on a large scale, schools of creativity. The Ideas Academy in Sheboygan. I mean, there's so many. I could draw a gem from each one, which is why they're in the book, which is why they're in there. So,
which is why I couldn't stop reading, because it just seemed to kept getting better and better.
They're all different contexts, right? Yep. So somebody in public education is going to go and say, hey, well, that's a private school. We couldn't do that. But you know what? I know something? My premise is this. A good idea is a good idea. And one of the characteristics of creative person is flexible thinking. So you got to be able to adapt and see how we can do that. And there's no reason why we can't change. Even public education. And there's lots of really, this isn't even a tip of the iceberg. There's all kinds of great schools and great examples out there and educators who are doing wonderful things. This is just a conversation, a sample, a collage, so to speak.
Gotcha.